Peter Parker is up first because that kid just can't seem to catch a break. If you look at the comic version of him, more often than not he is suffering. If his aunt isn't slowly dying before his eyes, the Marvel Devil is on his way to break up Peter's marriage to MJ, or someone has created fake robot versions of Peter's parents designed to gain his trust through manipulation to learn the identity of Spider-Man. But when those clones get defeated, Peter has to watch his parents' demise after already losing them for real when he was a kid. In general, Peter's loved ones just keep passing away. He was mind/body swapped with one of his enemies, and upon being unable to switch back, had to teach said body snatcher how to be good by showing him all the trauma that led to this point. Then if you look at the movie versions of the character, he also just can't catch a break. Tom Holland's Spider-Man has been completely forgotten in his world. He won the fight but lost literally everything else. He also has a building dropped on him at the beginning, and he was snapped out of existence. Then there's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. He lost a whole third movie and his girlfriend. Tobey's Spider-Man has also suffered a lot, but I think of the three, he probably is doing the best. Daredevil's defeat by Kingpin in the Born Again arc is one of the most brutal takedowns in the character's history. Kingpin made Daredevil lose everything. He targeted not just him as the hero, but also as just the man, making him question who he is and lose sight of what he stands for. Daredevil begins to lose his mind more and more until he eventually just shows up to fight Kingpin face out, Daredevil suit out the window. Matt was never going to win this fight against Kingpin, that much is clear. He's knocked out, drenched in whiskey, pushed into the driver's seat of a taxi cab, and literally thrown into the river. Obviously, Matt made it out alive in the end, but that entire process of mentally and physically attacking the hero was brutal and changed him from that point onward. I am putting Scarlet Witch on this list because she has completely lost everything in the MCU. Like, she has almost nothing left for her right now but a legacy and a cool outfit. Scarlet Witch quickly became one of the MCU's most popular characters after the success of WandaVision and Elizabeth Olsen's depiction of the character. WandaVision was a great watch, but not so great for Wanda. She gained and lost everything in like the span of 9 episodes, which was only about a week or two in the universe, I'm pretty sure. She lost the love of her life, her husband Vision, the 2 kids she magically created with him, and their dog. Then she lost her mind a little bit after all that. She did experience a large amount of trauma in a very short amount of time, but she also caused a lot of trauma in that time by trapping the residents of a random small town in her own personal sitcom. So that caused her to lose favor with the government and severely hurt her hero status in the universe. Plus, on top of all that, she lost her brother. So I love Iron Man, but he loses a lot, especially in the MCU, because that's how movies are made. The main hero has to lose a little bit in the beginning, so it makes the ending victory so much sweeter. But still, he did face some pretty brutal losses, like when he was kidnapped, that was an L, or when his father figure, Mr. Stain, attacked him, or when his Earth defense system turned evil and tried to attack the Earth, took the L there too, or that time he fought against his former teammates and was left broken on the ground by Captain America, massive L there. He also lost his unofficial son, Peter Parker, when Thanos snapped him away, and then he lost his biological family when he realized that the only way to save the world was to sacrifice himself. Of course, Tony did win a lot in his life too, but there was always an element of loss in there. Franklin Richards, son to Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic, has had a rough teenage experience. The kid gained and lost his powers, friends, relationships with his family, and sense of belonging all within the span of like a couple years. Franklin was once regarded as one of the most powerful mutants in the world, winning fights even as a kid, but then he grew up and everything changed. Thinking Franklin was the most powerful mutant ever, he was of course invited to Krakoa. Franklin really wanted to go, but his dad wanted to keep him where he was. A huge battle broke out between the Fantastic Four and the X-Men over this, only to end with Franklin unable to even cross the entrance to the mutant haven because his dad messed with his mutant gene. This severely damaged the father-son relationship. Eventually, Franklin did make it to Krakoa, made a bunch of friends, and made a life for himself, only to exert his powers so much they all but disappeared. Due to losing his powers, it was discovered that Franklin actually wasn't a mutant at all. He was just powerful enough to make it seem like he was. So not only did he lose his trust in his dad, but also his powers, and also all all the relationships he built during his time on Krakoa. XStatics is up next because they're a mess. Originally, this team was called X-Force, but as you might know, there is a much more popular team that also used that name, led by Cable. There can only be one. The band of reality TV stars lost that fight and changed their team name to XStatics. This team can't seem to get it together. Most of the OG team perished after a boy band rescue attempt went wrong, but survival didn't mean life got easier. The heroes that made it out were targeted, and some even put targets on each other. It's a messy, dysfunctional team, and it was shocking they survived as long as they did. Their final mission as a team resulted in all but one member dying, Dupe. Forget-Me-Not has apparently helped the X-Men win some of their biggest fights, but he loses out on all the glory because of his mutant power being forgotten. Unless this guy is right in front of you, you forget about him. Many unexplained happenings in the world of the X-Men can apparently be traced back to Forget-Me-Not. Even though Forget-Me-Not claims to be very helpful in a fight, he will never receive his flowers. The poor guy will never know what it is to have a family or friends. He loses out on so many life experiences thanks to his nightmare of a power. Another failed Marvel team was the New Warriors, but that's not the team you're thinking of that includes Firestar and Night Thrasher. I'm talking about the new recruits that were announced in March of 2020 that received so much backlash, Marvel just cancelled their debut altogether. They had a loss without even getting into a real fight. It seems Marvel was trying to connect with a younger generation, naming the heroes after common internet lingo and giving them powers relating to modern tech and modern problems. Despite clearly catering to younger audiences, the characters received a lot of backlash and never made it to print. The new team was made up of Screen Time, a kid that was exposed to experimental internet gas and gained the power of permanent internet connection. He sees an augmented reality and has Google literally built in. Then we have the twins. They are Snowflake and Safe Space, and they do have a psychic connection. Snowflake throws snowflake-shaped projectiles, and Safe Space creates force fields that only protect other people, literally creating a safe space around them. My personal favorite of the new crew was B Negative. He was a teen vampire exposed to Morbius's blood as a kid, and he's just emo. That's his whole thing. And finally, we have Trailblazer. Trailblazer's power reminds me so much of Dora the Explorer. Her power is a magic backpack that's a pocket dimension where she can pull out tools to help with missions. Technically, she also has her own magic map, like Dora, in the character Screen Time. It's not hard to see why these characters lost their intended audience before they even hit the stands. Nebula's entire life seems to be one loss after another. Not only has she literally lost most of her body parts, much of her organic matter being replaced with robotic parts, she also lost her biological family, presumably after Thanos came by and wiped them all out, in the MCU of course. Then she lost her adopted family, since Thanos was a horrible dad, so of course Gamora ran away. Nebula pretty much lost all hope for happiness as the years went on with her horrible dad, eventually gaining some joy back when she met Earth's mightiest heroes and her dad was defeated. Now that he's gone, Nebula has the chance to get some wins under her belt that don't involve working for a tyrant. And finally, Wolverine is a fan favorite character with some pretty strong plot armor and healing factor. But even with all the bells and whistles, he still loses a lot of fights and a lot of lovers. Wolverine, as we commonly know him in the X-Men movies and the comics, is by no means a loser, but he does lose. Sabretooth is one of his toughest opponents, and he has bested Wolverine in a fight more than once. Sabretooth just loves to cause chaos and pain in Wolverine's life whenever he can. He has taken out multiple Wolverine love interests and unprovoked attacked Logan way too many times to count. He is truly Wolverine's arch nemesis, but that's not the only character that can defeat a Wolverine. Many of Logan's fellow X-Men have incapacitated the hero, including Gambit and Cyclops. The most famous defeat of Wolverine would have to be that time Magneto literally ripped the adamantium off his bones and almost ripped him apart. It's near impossible to kill a Wolverine, and yet Magneto almost completed that task. The only reason he lived is because Jean held him together with her powers. This loss took such a toll on Wolverine's body and his healing factor that it didn't know what to do, and it nearly shut down altogether. It also caused Wolverine to go a little feral for the next bit. It's like he had a factory reset or something. But hey, if Wolverine won all the time, it would just be boring. Epic losses keep things interesting. But what do you think? Let us know. Bye!